Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Did I really practice all the martial arts that I made up? Xingzhi traveled through a different world and inherited a small Taoist temple. He had no golden fingers and could only stay in the temple. One day, he made a homemade mine to fry fish, but was mistakenly thought to be a master of Taoism and insisted on apprenticeship. Muxingzhi naturally sternly refused, but he didn't expect the other party to insist on apprenticeship and give too many apprenticeship gifts. He couldn't refuse and could only rack his brains to concoct a set of martial arts to deceive the other party. However, he didn't expect his cheap disciple to successfully cultivate. Looking at the disciple who had successfully cultivated, Xingzhi was stunned and said, "This is not scientific. I made it all up. How could I have successfully cultivated?" At this moment, the disciple's hundredfold skill feedback is on him, and this is his own golden finger. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. He gave too much in Chapter 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Swallowing a golden pill into my stomach, I realize that my fate is not determined by heaven. Outside the Qingyang temple, Shaoyi looked at the two lines of characters on the stone tablet, where dragons and phoenixes danced, and couldn't help but be overjoyed. You are indeed a master of enlightenment. I must succeed in my apprenticeship. Boom! Just as he stepped into the temple, a deafening explosion came. Xiao Yixuan rushed forward and heard a loud noise. Then he saw the water surface in the pond of the Taoist temple shaking violently, rippling open, and water splashing up to 7 or 8 meters high, flying in all directions. On the shore, a young and handsome Taoist stood under a tree, dressed in a blue Taoist robe, with drooping temples and a natural and ethereal demeanor. At this moment, a gentle breeze was blowing by, and the leaves rustled down, exuding a refined demeanor that almost overflowed the scene. Ah, the power is a bit too strong, it blew up all the fish. Xingzhi frowned slightly as he was about to use his net to catch the fish that had died from the explosion. Suddenly, a figure knelt before him with lightning speed and shouted loudly, "Master! Please accept me as your disciple." What kind of thing? Xingzhi was stunned and looked at the brave young man kneeling in front of him, feeling a bit confused. He then waved his hand. "Step aside, I'm not a master, I can't teach you anything." Shaoyi witnessed Xingzhi using the thunder technique with his own eyes and firmly believed that Xingzhi was an accomplished expert. He refused to give up and said, "As long as the expert is willing to pass on my unparalleled divine skill, he is willing to do anything." Xingzhi avoided Shaoyi and said helplessly, "I'm not really an expert. You worship the wrong mountain." Bang bang. Shaoyi suddenly cut out a few heads, his eyes fanatically saying, "Shaoyi, have been practicing martial arts since childhood. Unfortunately, my aptitude is not high, and I have not been able to master martial arts for 10 years. Therefore, I aspire to find a master of martial arts, and I will learn unparalleled divine skills to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. Please accept me as my disciple, and I will not disappoint the inheritance of the master." Looking at the young man with fiery eyes about to burst into flames, Xing raised his eyebrows and asked, "Why is this kid just one-minded? Why do you just assume that I am a virtuous expert? What can I teach you? Teach you how to make explosives." Xingzhi sighed and said, "Young man, why do you believe that I am a master of enlightenment?" Shaoyi firmly said, "Master, I have seen you perform the thunder technique with my own eyes. Can there be any falsehood? Master, I know that the way is not easily spread, and the technique is not sold at a low price. But I also know the principle that gold and stone are the key to success. If a master does not agree for a day, I will wait here for a day. If a master does not agree for 10 days, I will wait here for 10 days. In short, a master will eventually understand my sincerity. Holy crap, originally, I mistook the water mine that I made to fry fish for mine magic. Is it because there is no gunpowder in this world? This kid is so silly, he couldn't have ruined his mind just to find a Taoist master. In his previous life, Muxing was just an ordinary person who enjoyed reading. He inexplicably traveled to this world and became a Taoist for over a year. The Taoist temple is relatively small, but it has been passed down for decades. When he crossed over, there were only two people in the temple, one was him and the other was the master of the temple. Half a year ago, when the abbot passed away, he became the abbot of the Taoist temple. Although he was a traveler, Muxingzhi had no intention of venturing down the mountain. In his past life, he was just an ordinary person with no intention of doing great things. Moreover, the situation in Fengyang Kingdom is turbulent, with many bandits and mountain bandits, making the foothills unsafe. He is a Taoist with an imperial edict, so he doesn't have to pay taxes. Coupled with the incense in the Taoist temple, he is more than enough to support himself. He gave up the imperial edict and left after his brain went crazy. Speaking of which, there is no need to go through the 9 or 6 blessings when traveling. There is a house, Taoist temple, an establishment, imperial edict, a fixed salary, not bad incense money, and besides not having a mobile phone, computers are much more comfortable than modern life. After 2 years, find someone to marry and have children, and this life will pass like this. Alas, when they cross over, they are either kings, nobles, generals, or swordsmen with a sword energy spanning 30,000 miles. With one sword, they shine and freeze 19 continents. They can move mountains, pour the sea, subdue demons, control demons, decree gods, pluck stars, cut off the river, and destroy the city. However, I can only shrink in this small Taoist temple. But it's much better than some that come across as life-threatening. Looking at the young man kneeling in front of him, Muxingzhi explained, "Young man, you're mistaken. That's not Lei Fa, but I. As Muxingzhi was about to explain clearly, Xiao Yi held up a high brocade box and opened one of the lids, saying, "Master, this is the apprenticeship ceremony for younger generations. I know that for those who regard money as dirt in the eyes of a master, these 1,000 taels of silver are not to be taken seriously, but the master does not want them, and the younger generation cannot refuse them. Please accept it, master. Are you using this to test cadres? Which cadre cannot withstand such a test?" Looking at the neatly arranged silver bills in the brocade box, Muxingzhi swallowed his saliva secretly. 1,000 taels of silver. The Qingyang temple has been passed down for nearly 100 years and is quite famous in a radius of tens of miles. The incense is also good, and he can only get about 70.80 taels of it in a year. The average person's annual income is only 20 taels. 1,000 taels of silver is comparable to his income of over a decade. Unfortunately, this young man comes from a wealthy family at first glance, and if he collects this money, it will be difficult to explain later. Take him as an apprentice and teach him what? Muxingzhi was very tempted. His eyes were half closed, and he gritted his teeth before shaking his head and refusing, "I've already told you that I'm not a wise expert. As for the thunder technique you saw, what?" Xiao Yi opened the second lid of the brocade box and said, "This is the Phoenix Jade bracelet. Although it is an ordinary item, its effect is extraordinary. Please accept the younger generation's apprenticeship gift, master. Which cadre can withstand such a test?" Muxingzhi swallowed hard and looked at the bright Phoenix Jade bracelet in the brocade box, feeling as if his mouth had been sewn on, making it difficult to refuse. In the past life, there was a saying that jade nurtures people for 3 years, and jade nurtures people for a lifetime. In this world, Phoenix Jade can truly nourish people. Wearing Phoenix Jade year-round can unblock meridians, strengthen blood and return to the original state, making people immune to all kinds of illnesses. This Phoenix Jade bracelet is worth at least tens of thousands of taels. If you stay with your body all year round, extending your life by 10 years is not a problem. He was even more tempted, but thinking that he really didn't have much to teach, he shook his head and refused. Go back, I don't have anything to teach you. Xiao Yi opened the third lid of the brocade box and said, this is 100-year-old ginseng from Changbai Mountain, which can greatly nourish vitality. If a dying person can contain a piece of ginseng, they can hang their life for 10 days without dying. Please accept it, master. Muxingzhi let out a long sigh, stood with his hand down, and looked up to the sky with a long sigh. It's okay. It's okay. Idiot, idiot. If you come here with a firm will, it can be considered that you have a connection with my teacher, so I will accept you. We didn't have a chance, it all depends on your wealth. I gave too much and couldn't refuse. Master, please accept my disciple Xiao Yi's bow. Xiao Yi's face was full of excitement, and he kowtowed 3 times in ecstasy. Every time he kowtowed, it made a loud bang. With such a solid kowtow, Muxingzhi was afraid that he would knock himself unconscious. Chapter 2. Brainstorming the Martial Arts System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Muxingzhi's face remained calm and he made a calm expression, get up. Deep down in his heart, he absolutely doesn't want to take this silly guy as his disciple, but unfortunately, he has given too much of this silly guy and can't refuse it. Now that my disciple has received it, how can I deceive him? Are you going to make this up? We should be able to read through a lot of books and concoct some techniques blindly. As for whether it can be practiced, that's not my problem, it's my disciple's problem. Set a deadline and if you don't achieve success, you'll be kicked out of the door wall. Well, that's it, perfect. Master Xie. Xiao Yi stood up with a cool expression, eagerly looking at Muxingzhi. Faced with his expectant gaze, Muxingzhi carried his hands on his back and looked into the distance, calmly saying, what path are you going to learn from me today? But with the teachings of my master. Muxingzhi said, there are 360 Dharma sects in my sect, and each one has its own positive fruit. I wonder which one you want to learn. Xiao Yi respectfully said, with respect for the teacher's will, I will listen wholeheartedly. Muxingzhi. How about I teach you a way to learn the word shu in the door? What is the way of martial arts? In the Xingzhi gate, there are those who invite immortals to support one, inquire about divination and divination, and be able to understand the principles of seeking good fortune and avoiding misfortune. Is it possible to reach the peak of martial arts like this? No. No. Don't learn. Don't learn. Muxingzhi said again, how about teaching you the way of the flow character in the door? What is in the gate of flowing characters? Xiao Yi asked again. In the Xingzhi gate, there are Confucian, Shijia, Taoist, Yin-Yang, Mahist, and medical schools, who either read scriptures or recite Buddhism, and offer pilgrimage to the truth. Can you reach the peak of martial arts like this? Cannot. Don't learn. Don't learn. The way of muxing. How about teaching you the way of the word quiet in the door? What is the true fruit in the quiet gate? The way of muxing. This is to rest and guard the grain, remain quiet and inactive, meditate and meditate, abstain from language and fasting, either sleep or perform meritorious deeds, and enter the state of meditation. Can you also reach the peak of martial arts like this? Xiao Yi asked. Cannot. That disciple doesn't learn either. The disciple is all focused on martial arts, please ask the master to pass on the teachings. After some pretentious and sophisticated maneuvers, it was evident that Xiao Yi's admiration was increasing. Muxingzhi then got to the point. In your eyes, what is the peak of martial arts? What kind of top experts do you know? Before making up any nonsense, one must first understand the situation. He has traveled for a year and rarely goes down the mountain, not very familiar with the outside world. However, as far as he knows, there are martial arts masters in this world, but he really doesn't know how strong the top masters are. Regarding Muxingzhi's question, Xiao Yi explained everything in detail, only then did Muxingzhi understand what the top martial arts experts are in terms of strength. Approximately at the level of Jin Yong's martial arts, it is the ultimate strength of a top martial arts expert, capable of flying over roofs and walls, flashing and moving several zhang, opening monuments and cracking rocks, and defeating hundreds of enemies. Xiao Yi, on the other hand, has always enjoyed listening to storytelling in mythological storybooks since he was young. He begged his family to find martial arts masters to teach him how to practice martial arts. However, he found out that even after reaching the peak of martial arts, he could only defeat 100 people. The invincible generals in the storytelling he heard were perverts who could defeat 1,000,000 soldiers on their own. Disappointed, he still firmly believed that there must be true immortals and experts in this world. He searched around and almost ran through the entire Dongyang County in the past 3 years. He goes wherever there is a legend that there are experts, most of whom are scammers, and there are also a few successful experts, but they are not the immortal-like experts he imagined. People who know Xiao Yi, the third young master of the Xiao family, all think that his brain is not working well, and he has only one mind. How can he believe that there are immortals and experts in the world? Just jokingly deceiving him that there were experts in Qinyang Temple, he rushed over with gifts. After listening, Muxingzhi was also slightly disappointed. He really hoped that this world could be a world of immortals and experts, or a world of high martial arts. If there were any, he might have the opportunity to come into contact with them in the future, but he may not be able to become a high-level expert who breaks the river and destroys the city. Muxingzhi already understood who Xiao Yi was, essentially no different from those who were obsessed with games and novels in their past lives. He vaguely remembers that at a certain stage, some people were obsessed with games and even believed that they could fly like game characters, jump off buildings, or become obsessed with reading novels and run to jump into rivers, thinking they could cross. Muxingzhi said slowly, "There are thousands of martial arts techniques. I have chosen a few that suit you, namely the Sutra of the Tathagata in this world, the Great Dharma of Self-Transformation, and the Divine Elephant Control of Prison. These 3 techniques are most suitable for you. Choose one of them." Xiao Yi widened his eyes and took a slight breath. The names of the 3 martial arts, the Tathagata Sutra of the Present World, the Great Dharma of Self-Transformation, and the Divine Elephant Prison Control Sutra, were immediately impressive. Which one should he choose? After careful consideration, he finally made up his mind. "Master, can the Tathagata Sutra reach the pinnacle of martial arts in this world?" The Tathagata Sutra in this world is the supreme secret method for cultivating immortality. What is a human immortal? Along the path of martial arts, one should accumulate breath, forge bones, train the organs, wash the marrow, until the completion of blood exchange. The practice of marrow is like frost, the blood is like mercury slurry, undergo rebirth and bone transformation, chop hair and wash the marrow, and ascend to the wusheng without dirt on the body. Martial saint. The saint of martial arts. Xiao Yi trembled with excitement as he listened. Muxingzhi recalled the online articles he had read in his past life and compiled a hierarchical system based on their content. He first fooled Xiao Yi before speaking. Seeing Xiao Yi like this, he was completely immersed and deceived. However, wusheng is not the pinnacle of the path of martial arts. Practicing martial arts without knowing one's body will ultimately lead to the inability to become a saint in the flesh, nor will one be able to understand the mysteries of the flesh. A person's body, whole and body are like the stars in the sky, where the gods of heaven and earth reside. If someone can cultivate their body clearly and reach the heavenly star's echo, they will move their hands and feet with infinite power, capturing dragons and throwing elephants to reach the realm of immortality. Immortals. Is the highest realm of martial arts human immortality? Xiao Yi's eyes were fanatical and fiery, excited beyond control. His ears perked up for fear of missing a word. Martial saint. Immortal. It sounds much more powerful than those so-called first-class and second-rate martial arts masters. It's not in vain for me, Xiao Yi, not to give up. After 3 years of hard searching, I finally found the true immortal expert. When I step into the true martial arts gate, I must go back and beat the faces of those who mock me hard. Master, please pass on my current Tathagata Sutra. Muxingzhi raised his head slightly and looked up at the sky. Since I have taken you as my disciple, I will naturally pass on your cultivation methods. However, as a teacher, I have a word in advance. The Tathagata Sutra in this world is the supreme secret method for cultivating immortals, and its cultivation threshold is very high. If you haven't started within 3 months, it means that our relationship has ended. After that, we can no longer entangle ourselves as a teacher, understand? Xiao Yi's heart was filled with awe. I understand. If I can't get started within 3 months, it means my disciples' qualifications are not good. It's not my master's fault, I can only blame myself, and I won't bother my master again from now on. Muxingzhi is very pleased. This disciple is not just a single-minded person, he is still very virtuous. Chapter 3. What Demon Memory? You are listening at novelfull.audio. This business is really worth it. After working hard for 3 months, it can be compared to decades of income. As for getting started, I concocted a cultivation system and techniques that I couldn't get started in just 3 months, even 10 or 1,000 months. Muxingzhi then continued, the world is a vast ocean, and the ultimate goal of martial arts is to strengthen the physical body, transcend life and death, and not to show off strength through slaughter. The world is like a sea of suffering, and the physical body is like a raft crossing the sea. If the physical body is strong, it can carry people directly to the other side of the sea of suffering. The beginning of martial arts is to accumulate breath. Through meditation, you can hit the spirit, adjust the breathing rate, and then mobilize the qi and blood, beat the muscles and bones, refine the qi and blood, strengthen the body, and finally condense an internal breath. After the successful consolidation of internal breathing, a person's physical strength will undergo a qualitative improvement. As the internal breathing gradually becomes stronger and eventually fills the whole body, they can begin to enter the next realm. Once you enter the realm of accumulation, 10 people are no match for you. Since it's just a fabrication, I naturally want to say that martial arts is more powerful than martial arts experts. I just started with 10 enemies, isn't it powerful enough? Xiao Yi shook his head and head, wishing to take a pen and paper to record every word Muxingzhi said. Master, what does it mean to go out? Even if you succeed in accumulating knowledge, is it considered an entry point? Xiao Yi asked nervously. Of course. Just as Muxingzhi was about to nod, he immediately realized that he had made his pug so high and so easy to get started, which was damaging to his pug. So the conversation changed. Perhaps for most people, Yun Shi is just the beginning, but as a teacher, it is far from stepping into the door of martial arts. One day, your organs will practice through breathing, remove waste gas and sediment, absorb new energy, and keep your whole body fresh both inside and outside, thus nourishing your internal energy and inhaling it continuously and deeply. Between waving their arms, there is a force of thousands or even tens of thousands of pounds, and their agility is like a divine circular machine, capturing eagles and rabbits with just one movement. They walk as fast as horses, jump as agile as birds, and have the strength to walk thousands of miles a day and 800 miles a night. The internal and external muscles, bones, skin and flesh, as well as the 5 internal organs and 6 internal organs, are all condensed into one piece. The copper skin, steel bones, and iron internal organs make the whole person's vitality, blood, and physique incredibly powerful. Only when I am a teacher can I be considered a beginner. Xiao Yi widened his eyes in shock, and a tumultuous wave surged in his heart. There is a force of 10,000 pounds between waving his arms, catching an eagle and a rabbit in one movement. Walking as fast as a galloping horse, jumping as agile as a flying bird, traveling thousands of miles a day. How powerful should this be? I'm afraid he already has the ability to defeat 1,000 soldiers. Even the top martial arts experts in the martial arts world are just beginners facing such an existence, right? So, martial saint, how powerful should human immortals be? Land immortals. In his thoughts, Xiao Yi became more and more relaxed and enchanted. Master, how powerful is the martial saint? Wusheng, the saint of martial arts, exchanges blood and combs hair, refines blood like mercury, combines soul and qi and blood, and transforms into pure yang. His mind is extremely agile, and he predicts things like a god. Before the autumn wind arrives, cicadas have a special premonition of danger and avoid it in advance. The more Muxingzhi weaves, the smoother he becomes. His thoughts flow like a spring, and he even feels a sense of immersion, as if he is not just fabricating something, but telling a fact. In addition, the most important aspect of the martial saint is that his martial will is almost substantial, highly condensed, and he can eliminate all evil laws. He throws an iron spear that breaks through the air and explodes, killing people thousands of kilometers away. With a single sword swing, his sword moves 30 steps away. After death, he is cremated, and some of his bones remain unchanged, comparable to divine gold. Xiao Yi's eyebrows lit up as he listened, and he continued to ask, that immortal. That's all for now. Muxingzhi waved his hand and interrupted him, you haven't even completed your cultivation yet. Knowing too much is not good for you, so be careful not to be down. To dot earth along the way of martial arts. The most taboo is to aim too high and aim too far. Only by laying a solid foundation step by step can you reach the peak of martial arts. Master, I was reckless, Xiao Yi felt a chill in his heart. He didn't know that Muxingzhi had not figured out how to write it later. He had to think again and organize the words. If he continued to write it, there would be a risk of leakage due to the lack of coherence in the preface. Besides, what's the use of telling others how powerful immortals are? The accumulation of energy cannot be completed, let alone any martial saint or immortal. Alas, this silly kid, if he knew what he believed in as the Holy Spirit of martial arts and the immortals of martial arts, I would not have collapsed. I am now passing on the Tathagata Sutra to you. I will only recite it 3 times. How much I can remember depends on yourself. Are you ready? I'm ready. With one hand on his back, Muxingzhi walked slowly forward. A gentle breeze blew through his temples, fluttering his clothes and clothes. From Xiao Yi's perspective, he looked like a fairy. The way of heaven is to make up for deficiencies while losing excess, which is why emptiness triumphs over reality and deficiency triumphs over excess. Its meaning is broad, its logic is profound, and its interest is profound. The phenomena of heaven and earth are divided, the signs of yin and yang are listed, the causes of changes are external, and the signs of death and life. Weakness triumphs over strength, gentleness triumphs over hardness, and the world knows and cannot act. Speaking of this, he stopped admiring because he forgot what was written behind the 9 yin manual. Forget it, just make it up casually. He recalled the 9 yang scripture and continued to orally. He allows himself to be strong, the clear wind brushes the hills, he allows him to be horizontal, the bright moon shines on the river. The distinction between virtual and real needs to be clear. There is one virtual and real in each place, and there is always one virtual and real in every place. Qi must be surging, and the mind should be introverted, without using any defects, bumps, or gaps. Use intention without effort. Follow people's movements, stretch out as they bend, wherever you touch, where your heart should be used. The 9 yin manual, the 9 yang scripture and the Huangting scripture, after racking their brains for a long time, finally finished compiling the Sutra of the World Tathagata. How much did you remember? I remember all the disciples. Muxingzhi was startled and suddenly turned around, did you really remember everything? Xiao Yi looked innocent and said, Master, I really remember all the disciples. How about I explain it to you orally? Sleeping trough. What kind of demon memory is this? Muxingzhi was shocked. If he had such abnormal memories, getting into Tsinghua and Peking University would not be a matter of his own hands, nor would he have studied hard for 3 years and only got a broken one. Forget it, there's no need to say it orally. I believe you, master. Muxingzhi shook his head slightly. He made up everything himself without any beginning or end, even if Xiao Yi was wrong, he might not be able to notice. Just remember, do you know how to take a horse stance? Take a horse stance and let me take a look. Xiao Yi took a horse stance and Muxingzhi gave guidance on the side. Ma Bu, what's important is the word horse, stand out as a horse. Imagine a person riding a horse, their body rising and falling with the horse. Do you feel dizzy after standing for a long time? This is because your lower body posture is in place, but your lower body posture is not in place. You need to learn how to lift your head in the air. As Muxingzhi walked, he dictated that the Sutra of the Tathagata in this world had reached the summit of Qingyang Mountain. He pointed to the edge of the cliff and said, "Come over here, look down, and you will be at the top of the mountain and see the small mountains." Chapter 4. Invisible Brain Repair, the Most Deadly. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As Xiao Yi walked to the edge of the cliff, he suddenly felt a broad field of vision, with continuous peaks hovering like dragons, and his whole body felt much more comfortable. Climbing high and looking far, with a broad view, one's mood becomes relaxed and fatigue alleviates. This is known as the sky empty summit. Muxingzhi pointed at the point and said, "When standing on horseback, not only do you have to rise and fall one step at a time, but you also need to broaden your horizons and have an artistic conception of climbing high and looking far inside." Xiao Yi seemed to be lost in thought. "Well, now you can start meditation, sense the breathing rate, and then mobilize your life." Since it was fabricated, Muxingzhi couldn't pass on any moves and could only talk nonsense from words and horse steps, and then let Xiao Yi practice on his own. As for whether he can comprehend it himself, it depends on himself. What? Unable to comprehend? That's your problem. It's not a matter of being a teacher. Teaching disciples as a teacher is like this. Believing in the master leading the way, relying on personal cultivation, and never following the same pattern. As a teacher, one can only guide in one direction, and what one can achieve depends on the disciple themselves. There are thousands of people in the world, and no one is completely similar. Therefore, it is necessary to vary from person to person and never stick to conventions. Do you understand? I understand. Xiao Yi bowed respectfully without losing his respect. Master is indeed an immortal-like expert, even teaching disciples is so different. Well, let's continue practicing. Muxingzhi turned around and left, not forgetting to take away Xiao Yi's apprenticeship ceremony. First, take out the phoenix jade bracelet and put it on. You can clearly feel the warmth, I wonder if it's an illusion. After putting on the bracelet, your mind is much clearer. Carefully hide 1,000 taels of silver notes. Then I processed the fried fish and prepared to stew it in fish soup. This pure natural fish, even without any seasoning, has a very sweet taste. This century-old ginseng from Changbai Mountain has a great nourishing effect on vitality. Why not cut a few pieces and put them in fish soup to try the effect? Thinking of this, Muxingzhi cut a few small pieces of ginseng. During the break in the stewed fish soup, Muxingzhi glanced at Xiao Yi, who was still standing on the edge of the cliff with his eyes closed, galloping up and down. I saw his body rise and fall slightly, as if a gentle breeze was blowing water and waves were flipping, just like a person riding on a horse's back. I'm going, isn't it? Did you really show off like a horse? Muxingzhi was shocked, but on second thought, Xiao Yi had already practiced martial arts before, perhaps he had already taken a horse stance before and was not a beginner. Xiao Yi's body rose and fell, trying to concentrate, sense his breathing rate, and mobilize his qi and blood. Master said that meditation induction of breathing rate is not about listening to one's own breath, but watching one's own breath, watching the entire scene of gas entering the nose, throat, lungs and finally exiting, and then, seeing one's own qi and blood along the qi, using qi to control blood. Gradually, Xiao Yi felt like he had entered meditation, but no matter what, he couldn't see his own qi and blood. For a long time, Xiao Yi stood up and moved his sore legs, his eyes still firm. It's normal for me to not feel my qi and blood on the first day, I need to continue working hard. Xiao Yi gave himself encouragement, believing that he could sense qi and blood. Muxingzhi's ginseng stewed fish soup has been prepared, and the taste is still so delicious. After adding ginseng, it is indeed different from before, and it is unclear whether it is due to psychological effects. After eating it, I feel full of qi and blood, and my body has become slightly lighter. Seeing that there was still some fish soup left, Muxingzhi called Xiao Yi back to eat. They have paid so much tuition fees that they don't even cover their meals, isn't it even more outrageous than capitalists? How about it, have you sensed qi and blood? Xiao Yi shook his head slightly and said, I have entered a meditative state, but I still have no idea how to sense qi and blood. It's okay, don't be discouraged. The key to the path of martial arts lies in perseverance. Let's eat first. Muxing comforted him in his mouth, but secretly laughed in his heart. It's all my imagination. If you can really sense it, I'll chop off my head and kick it like a ball. Xiao Yi nodded heavily, hungry in his stomach, and ate in large bites. His eyes lit up and he said, Master, this fish is so fresh and delicious, and there is also ginseng. Are you a fish stewed with that century-old ginseng? Sure enough, in the eyes of my master, my apprenticeship ceremony was nothing at all. The precious century-old ginseng was directly used to stew fish soup for myself to drink. That is to say, if one has the heart to follow the Tao and has a connection with their master, it is impossible to successfully become a disciple. After finishing his meal, Xiao Yi only felt a surge of hot air rising from his abdomen, his whole body warm and curious. He asked, Master, how long does it take to sense qi and blood in general? How long does it take to get started? How long will it take to get started? Ghosts only know. I won't be able to enter the door for a lifetime. Muxing's heart murmured, all these things are fabricated, how can I get started? After thinking for a moment, he set the standard very high and spoke up. A true demon can sense qi and blood in 1 day, accumulate breath for 3 days, forge bones for 10 days, and practice organs for 1 month, reaching the realm of practicing organs. It can be considered as an entry-level skill under my master's guidance. Is it considered beginner to reach the realm of practicing dirt? Is it a demon to reach the realm of cultivating dirt in a month? My master requires me to start learning within 3 months. Even if I am not a demon, 3 months is considered a genius. It turns out that I was required according to the standards of a genius. I must not disappoint my master's high expectations. Xiao Yi felt a sense of urgency in his heart. It has been over an hour now, but I haven't even sensed my qi and blood. It may be as difficult as reaching the sky to complete the accumulation of breath in 3 days. Seeing the tense expression on his face, Muxingzhi comforted him and said, Success lies in man and planning lies in heaven. My disciple, remember that our ancestors lacked the Dharma, and the heavenly way is not to be feared. Our way is both heavenly way, and our way surpasses 10,000 laws. This is what a top human immortal said, which means that the unique mental skills created by ancestors and predecessors are not enough to be their own, and the heavenly way is not enough to fear. They think that this life is better than the past, that the martial arts in the world today are better than the ancient divine skills, and that their own way of learning can surpass all predecessors and open up a new world. Ancestors lack the Dharma, and the heavenly way lacks fear. Xiao Yi murmured to himself, feeling excited for some reason. Suddenly, a surge of passion arose, as if he saw a towering immortal, looking up at the sky and facing the towering martial arts giants that have emerged throughout history. He said, "My Dharma surpasses your Dharma, my Tao surpasses your Tao." Master, I understand now. Xiao Yi's gaze was firm and he said solemnly, "There is a vast world and great potential. What Master meant was not to let rules and standards bind me. Someone can rest for 3 days, why can't I use less time? The records of our predecessors are used to break, and I will open up a new world." Ah! Is that what I mean? What are you really brainstorming? Mu Xing roused in his heart, but his face was pleased, and he patted him on the shoulder. Not bad. I value you. Has Chapter 5 truly entered the realm of accumulation? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Yi was moved. Master is indeed a divine expert, and a few words of guidance made me understand. Master, I'm continuing my cultivation. Looking at Xiao Yi, who continued to meditate with his eyes closed, Muxingzhi let out a slight sigh. This silly kid, how could he be so easy to deceive? I'm a bit embarrassed now, can't you doubt what I say and what you believe? How could a socialist young man with excellent moral, intellectual, physical, artistic, and labor skills in my past life become a big scammer full of lies? There's no way. He really gave too much. Glancing at Xiao Yi, who was diligently practicing, Muxingzhi returned to his room and took a nap. Xiao Yi continued to use his horse steps to sense qi and blood. After eating ginseng fish soup, he felt a warm current surging in his abdomen. Unexpectedly, this time there seemed to be some movement in the induction of qi and blood. He immediately entered a state, quickly adjusted his breathing, emptied his body, and at the same time, he activated waves of breath inside his body. I have sensed qi and blood. At this moment, Xiao Yi was extremely excited. Don't get excited, sink your qi in the abyss, concentrate your strength on the roots of the mountains. Borrow your strength from people, and your qi will come from your spine. Huning's qi will come from your spine. The qi will sink down and enter your spine from your shoulders, injecting it into your waist. This qi will also flow from top to bottom. Recalling his master's oral, the Tathagata Sutra of the present world, Xiao Yi calmed his mind and understood its meaning. In an instant, he knew what to do and quickly adjusted his breathing. The qi and blood in his body began to circulate according to his thoughts, gradually beginning the cycle of heaven and earth. In less than 3 hours, qi and blood flowed through the 5 organs and 6 organs, with all 4 limbs and bones, completing a cycle of circulation. Xiao Yi could clearly feel that after a cycle of circulation, his internal breathing had greatly strengthened. That breath was like a furnace, constantly releasing essence, nourishing the whole body, constantly refining muscles and bones, refining qi and blood, and strengthening the body. In just 3 hours, Xiao Yi felt that his body was more than twice as strong. And the body is still constantly strengthening until it reaches the limit of the realm of accumulation. I have entered the realm of accumulated energy. Xiao Yi opened his eyes, excited beyond measure. Master is really amazing. With just one word, I broke through my limits. In less than a day, I entered the realm of accumulated energy. Xiao Yi doesn't think he's a demon. It takes 3 days for demons to rest, and he only used 1 afternoon. If he still regards the 3-day accumulation as an insurmountable standard, then he will never be able to surpass it. Master said, our ancestors lacked the Dharma, and our heavenly way is not to be feared. Don't let standards become constraints, and he has indeed opened up a new world. Also, on the surface, Master asked me to eat, but in reality, he was helping me. If it weren't for the ginseng medicinal power contained in fish soup, I wouldn't have been able to feel the qi and blood so quickly. Sure enough, Master's every word and action has a profound meaning, it depends on whether I can comprehend it. Xiao Yi let out a long breath and glanced at a water tank. His gaze fell on the edge of the tank, and he lightly lifted it with his hands resting on the edge. He persisted for 10 seconds before putting it down. This water tank is filled with at least 1,000 pounds of water, and now it weighs about 300 pounds. I can already lift it now, you know I'm just starting to learn martial arts. After waking up from sleep, Muxingzhi felt refreshed. He washed his face with water and went to see Xiao Yi, who was still practicing. You are such a hard-working and good student. You said you have the perseverance to practice martial arts, and even if you become a top martial arts expert, it is just around the corner. Unfortunately, you came to me and met a big deceitful teacher like me. No matter how hard you work, it's useless. Muxing felt a little impatient in his heart, but at this moment he hoped that Xiao Yi would give up early, which was better than wasting time. Seeing Master Muxingzhi, Xiao Yi ran over excitedly and said excitedly, Master. I have sensed qi and blood, and have entered the realm of accumulated energy. As a result, the master simply said indifferently, beware of arrogance and impatience. It was like a basin of cold water pouring down from the top of the head, and Xiao Yi's smile slowly disappeared. Master doesn't seem to have much reaction. Yes, Master is unfathomable. He is a divine and immortal person with fiery eyes and golden eyes. He can't tell anything, and he doesn't need me to report to see that I have entered the realm of accumulated energy. In my master's eyes, practicing the dirty realm can only be considered as an entry-level skill. What is the accumulated breath realm? I can't hold my breath anymore. Master is right, guard against arrogance and impatience. My progress lies in my master's shining eyes. Wait until one day when you enter the realm of practicing dirt, and then report to your master once you have entered. At the same time as Xiao Yi's brain was replenished, his admiring heart rose that he felt qi and blood and entered into the realm of breath accumulation. Dreaming. Can you successfully cultivate the technique I fabricated? I can still feel my eyebrows beating when I concentrate now, as if my eyes have opened up. In Muxingzhi's view, sensing qi and blood is an illusion. Many people concentrate on the center of their eyebrows, feeling a beat in the center of their eyebrows, and even feeling an electric shock when their attention is focused on the spinal cord. It may sound mystical, but in reality, this is not an extraordinary phenomenon. Xiao Yi sensed that qi and blood should be in this situation. The sunset fell into the sky, and the shepherd boy's flute sounded. Muxingzhi got up from the rocking chair and stretched lazily. No pilgrims came to my door today. I'm hungry again, I need to eat now. Ah, it's not good to be alone in a Taoist temple. You have to cook 3 meals a day yourself. That's not right. Muxingzhi looked at the disciple who was working hard to cultivate and suddenly realized. I have already taken in all my apprentices, and I still need to cook for myself. Isn't apprentice just a free laborer? Isn't it normal for apprentice to show filial piety to their master? After some thought, Muxingzhi gave up temporarily. Not for anything else. It's not good to treat my apprentice as a laborer on the first day of enrollment. Wait a few days and get to know each other well before driving the disciple to do something. Chop the remaining half of the chicken from yesterday and continue to stew. Now, Muxingzhi cut 10 pieces of ginseng. The effect of this ginseng is too good. No wonder it can hang a dying person for 10 days. After drinking ginseng fish soup at noon, Muxingzhi clearly felt that his qi and blood were sufficient, and his eyes and ears became clearer and clearer. After stewing ginseng in chicken soup, Muxingzhi called Xiao Yi for a meal. After finishing his meal, Xiao Yi continued to practice diligently. Sure enough, the medicinal power of ginseng is beneficial for strengthening qi and blood. After drinking ginseng chicken soup, the speed of mobilizing qi and blood has increased a lot. According to this speed, it does not take me 10 days, but at most 5 days to forge bones successfully. The bottom line of chapter 6 is still not low enough. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shifu really knows that ginseng for 100 years can help me cultivate, so they all join ginseng. It's really a good idea. I cannot let down his old man's hard work. I will definitely work hard every day and strive to enter the beginner's realm of practicing dirt as soon as possible. Xiao Yi, who was skilled in brain therapy, was already deeply moved in his heart. His admiration for Muxingzhi was like a flowing river, continuous and uncontrollable, like the Yellow River flooding. Muxingzhi sat on a rocking chair, wobbling and taking out a book, looking at it with great interest. The wind blew the pages of the book, and in the blink of an eye, one could vaguely see several large characters on the cover of the book. Lamp, grass, harmony, and Shang. These days, it's not perfect, it's just a lack of red sleeves to add fragrance. The effect of century-old ginseng is indeed strong. After only eating 2 meals, I feel that my physical fitness has become much stronger. Do you want to keep this good thing for yourself and eat it slowly? Muxingzhi was very tempted, but on second thought. Forget it, this silly kid treats me with sincerity. I can't be too selfish either, and it's also the apprenticeship gift he gave me. The bottom line is still not low enough, and Muxingzhi dispelled the idea of leaving ginseng to eat slowly. In the blink of an eye, it had been 5 days since Xiao Yi had apprenticed and Muxingzhi had fabricated a system of martial arts. Since 2 days ago, Muxingzhi has been living the most comfortable life since crossing over. Every day, he has disciples to serve him, cooking, feeding chickens, growing vegetables, and so on, all of which are done by Xiao Yi. Every day, besides receiving pilgrims, I just read books or stroll around. However, the more comfortable he lived, the more guilty Muxingzhi became. After paying so much apprenticeship fees, he fooled him into not only practicing martial arts hard every day, but also serving him. If he knew the truth, he was afraid that Xiao Yi would come up and tear him apart. Master's words are indeed brilliant, and walking, sitting, and lying are all skills. It turns out that digging soil is also a highly advanced skill. Xiao Yi swung his hoe and dug fiercely, his body like a lever, without using any force. The heavy hoe floated up lightly, then quickly fell down, fiercely hooked into the compacted soil, flipping over and over, as if throwing a big fish out of the water. A large piece of soil was arched up, and with a hoe strike, the soil shattered into pieces, soft as if it were steamed pastry. Relaxing and carefree, it seems like an art form. Each action is full of elasticity, as if there are many steel wires twisted around springs inside the body. Xiao Yi imagined that there was an enemy in front of him. Suddenly, his feet slipped and he pounced in front of the enemy. His fists and palms erupted, and the enemy's throat, chest, and lower abdomen were hit. He sneered in his heart and whispered, "You're already dead." He just used the same move of hoeing and turning the soil, raising his hand and hitting the ground. Digging and hoeing, one in front and one behind, one up and one down, one left and one right. After practicing this move well, many martial arts skills can be easily mastered. No matter however changing you are, I am like a hoe. Muxingzhi glanced at Xiao Yi and saw him making strange movements one by one in the vegetable field, muttering to himself, "This kid won't be fooled crazy by me, will he? There's something wrong with him." However, Xiao Yi, this silly young man, has really strong perseverance. His daily intensity is much higher than that of September 6th. Despite being born into a wealthy family, he can persevere without being anxious or restless. With this personality, what can't be done well? It's just a pity. He's obsessed with myths and legends, and his mind is full of imagination. Believe me, a big scam. On the other hand, if this silly kid wasn't one-minded, he wouldn't have been fooled by me. If it weren't for not being anxious or restless, he wouldn't have been without a single complaint for 5 days. Could it be that he really had no questions about me? Muxingzhi was very surprised. Okay, it's better not to have any questions at all, stick to going home for 3 months. Well, now let's think about the words that deceived him. At least it will be 3 months, even if it is a compilation, it should sound more reasonable. The accumulated energy has been greatly achieved, and we can start forging bones now. Feeling the passage of internal breath throughout his body, running smoothly, and being able to refine his muscles and bones under the control of meditation, Xiao Yi realized that he had already achieved great success in accumulating breath and was about to be promoted to the next level. This speed is similar to what he imagined, entering the bone forging realm in 5 days. Master's words are all reasonable. Although I delay my cultivation while cooking, digging, planting vegetables, and feeding chickens, in reality, as long as I have the intention, walking, sitting, and lying are all exercises. Walking is practice, eating is practice, and sleeping is practice. The way of civil and military affairs is to relax and relax. The highest good is like water. Great music has the faintest notes, Taoism is unknown. That's the truth. If I don't do anything other than practice these 5 days, I'm afraid my progress may not be as good as it is now. Master is truly an immortal-like expert. A single word of guidance can help me avoid many detours. Xiao Yi looked at his master lying on the rocking chair reading a book not far away, with a strong expression of admiration almost overflowing from his eyes. Master has reached a state of being carefree and returning to simplicity. Although it may seem ordinary, every word and action actually embodies the profound principles of the Tao. I don't know what level Master has reached. I'm afraid even a martial saint may not be regarded by his master as a human immortal. I envy you so much. Thinking of this, Xiao Yi shook his head vigorously and said, "No way. No way. I can't aim too high. The path of martial arts requires being down to earth, step by step with a solid foundation. One day, I will become an immortal like my master." While Xiao Yi was brainstorming, he motivated himself and began to calculate. I have achieved great cultivation and can start forging bones, but my master hasn't told me how to do it yet. I need to ask. My master once said that demons accumulate energy for 3 days, forge bones for 10 days, and cultivate dirt for 1 month. However, I accumulate energy for 1 day and forge bones for 5 days, which is stronger than demons. I don't know what level it is in my master's eyes. Xiao Yi put down his hoe and suddenly wanted to try his current strength. Thinking about it, he came to a large water tank with a diameter of 1 meter and filled with water. Pop! His heart was itching uncontrollably, and he bent down to embrace the water tank filled with water with both hands. With Xiao Yi's muscles tense, he suddenly exerted force and lifted the water tank, which contained most of the water and weighed 700 to 800 pounds, effortlessly. It took 10 seconds without blushing or jumping before the water tank was lowered. This power hasn't reached my limit yet. Xiao Yi casually lowered the water tank, with a bright smile on his face. It is said that even the top martial arts experts have only 1,000 pounds of strength, and this water tank weighs at least 700 or 800 pounds. However, I can easily lift it up. In terms of strength, I am no less than those top martial arts experts, but I have only just entered the realm of martial arts for 5 days. Is this the true martial arts? The first realm of Yun Shi Jing has such strength. For the upcoming bone forging and dirty training, Xiao Yi became more and more eager and looking forward to it. Chapter 7. I am the Great Emperor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master, have a meal. After preparing the food, Xiao Yigong respectfully served a bowl of rice to Mu Xing and said, "I have a cultivation matter to ask my master for guidance." Forge the bone realm. Muxingzhi coughed lightly and said, "Eating is also a form of cultivation. We'll wait until we finish eating before we talk about anything. How to practice while eating and sleeping." Xiao Yi was puzzled and puzzled. The two biggest things in life are eating and sleeping. The way of Mu Xing. Once a person asked a Zen master who had attained enlightenment, "What is Zen?" The master said, "Eat when hungry, sleep when tired." The person asked strangely, "People are like this, eat when hungry, and sleep when tired. Why is it that others are not Zen, but you are Zen?" The Zen master said, "This is because they didn't eat while eating and didn't sleep when sleeping. Do you understand the meaning of this story? I didn't eat during meals, I didn't sleep during sleep. Muxingzhi chewed on these two sentences, very philosophical, and vaguely understood in his heart, but couldn't say exactly what they were. After saying something that he didn't understand and procrastinating for a while, Muxingzhi held his rice bowl and his mind spun rapidly. This silly kid is going to ask me about the bone forging realm. How should I make it up? I need to make it up a bit taller. That's all. After finishing his meal, Xiao Yi tidied up the dishes on the table and sat straight in front of Muxingzhi, respectfully saying, I listen to my master's teachings. Muxingzhi nodded slightly, his eyes showing a hint of appreciation. My disciple, you have been avoiding arrogance and impatience these past few days. Being able to concentrate on cultivation and work has been seen by my teacher, which proves that you have taken all my words to heart. I am very pleased. Master's words are precious, and I dare not ignore a single word. Xiao Yi lowered his head slightly. Fortunately, he didn't feel impatient in his heart. At times, he was a bit restless, but when he thought of his master's words, he calmed down. Looking back now, Master has always been paying attention to himself, which is also a disguised test of himself. My aunt, who is a top-notch teacher, once said that teaching students should not be blindly oppressed, but also encouraged and appreciated. Occasional praise and encouragement are very useful. This silly boy has been practicing for 5 days without making any progress, and I'm afraid he's already very restless in his heart. I definitely can't go back and can only continue to deceive him to continue practicing. In Muxing's heart, he thought of the principle of carrot and stick. In everything, you are afraid of persistence, and in everything, you are afraid of seriousness. Many difficult things in this world are most afraid of persistence. Practicing martial arts is the same, you must persist but not be impatient. No matter how high your cultivation level is, you must keep this sentence in your heart. Yes, Master, I will strictly follow your teachings. Upon hearing his master's praise, Xiao Yi's heart was filled with sweetness. In addition, he also understood his master's good intentions and said, yes, how could my progress be concealed from his master's eyes? Today, Yinshi has just been completed, and I can't wait to forge my bones. In my master's opinion, this is too impatient. So my master is also indirectly warning me not to act too hastily. If I rush to forge my bones, my foundation will not be solid. Xiao Yi warned himself in his heart that he could no longer be eager for quick success and instant benefits in the future. He was not afraid of anything else, as he was afraid of leaving a bad impression on his master. Muxingzhi had no idea that his words had been brainwashed by the cheap disciple himself. He also did not know that the foolish disciple in front of him had already possessed 1,000 pounds of strength and had learned a profound combat technique while digging, resembling a human-like beast. Master, how long did you accumulate energy and forge bones back then? Xiao Yi asked curiously. Muxingzhi slowly stood up and walked to the window with his hands on his back, looking up at the full moon above the sky, and began to pretend. Demons and geniuses are generally called heavenly pride, and in this world, there is a group of people who surpass them, and the world calls them Great Emperor. The pose of the Emperor. Xiao Yi exclaimed in his heart, Master, what is the Emperor? Muxingzhi said indifferently, the posture of the Great Emperor is the potential to prove the existence of the Great Emperor, who is almost invincible among his peers. The Great Emperor, on the other hand, reigns in the world, commands the vast universe, and the universe is revered together. He suppresses the 9 heavens and 10 places, and no one can match him. No one will obey him. Emperor. Emperor. Xiao Yi was stunned, he couldn't even imagine what kind of existence the Great Emperor was. From what his master said, martial arts sages and immortals were far inferior to the Great Emperor. So is Master the Great Emperor? Can I become the Emperor? At this moment, a wild gaze took root and sprouted in Xiao Yi's heart. He wants to become the Emperor. My disciple. Muxingzhi suddenly turned around and looked at Xiao Yi. Master. Xiao Yi's heart trembled with fear, feeling that his master's eyes were bright and terrifying at this moment. The two blazing good days shone straight into his heart, as if he was about to be seen through by his master inside and outside, with no more secrets. I hope one day I can tell people that my disciple Xiao Yi has the posture of a great emperor. Muxingzhi said in a deep voice. Xiao Yi's blood boiled and he said, Master. I will definitely work hard to achieve it. Very good. Muxingzhi nodded slightly and said, Your progress now is almost catching up with when I first started practicing martial arts. You need to work harder and not be complacent. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yi was very excited and said, I know. My master has already answered him that one's daily accumulation of energy and 5 days of bone forging is not as good as my master's. Muxingzhi showed a satisfied smile. Muxingzhi sighed in his heart, this disciple is really good. Whatever I say, he believes. With his brain, if he comes across someone who deliberately deceives him, he may not have any underwear left to deceive him. It's actually quite good to have such an apprentice, who respects his master and values his teachings. He never questions his master, does whatever his master asks him to do, and believes everything he says. If I were truly an immortal, it would be great to have such an apprentice. With a moment of thought, Muxingzhi asked, What questions do you have about your premise and bone forging realm? Xiao Yi's spirit lifted and he said, Master, I have no doubts about the state of accumulation. These days, the speed of accumulation has also been quite fast. Therefore, I would like to know how to forge bones and prepare in advance. After speaking, he added, Master, I will definitely continue to lay a foundation and not rush to forge bones for quick success and instant benefits. Muxingzhi smiled confidently, but fortunately, he had already figured out the fabricated words during his meal time and spoke calmly. The realm of forging bones is the most exquisite. If the realm of accumulating energy is the foundation, the realm of forging bones is the first step on the path of martial arts. Whether the path of martial arts is good or not, whether it goes smoothly, and whether it can go higher depends on this step. Xiao Yi suddenly realized, no wonder my master told me not to rush for quick success and instant benefits. It turns out that the importance of bone forging is so great. Fortunately, I remained calm and didn't go to bone forging casually. If I didn't take the first step of the martial arts path well, how could I go further? Chapter 8, You see, it's urgent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Remember your master's words firmly in your heart, persist but not be impatient. Xiao Yi pondered. Since the essence of forging bones is so important, I cannot easily take this step. I must continue to strengthen the foundation of the Yunxi realm until I have a 10 to 10 chance of taking this step again. Muxingzhi glanced at Xiao Yi, who was respectfully listening, and was very satisfied with this disciple. He continued to slowly fabricate. 2 Air, you must avoid it. The 9-tiered platform starts from the accumulation of soil, and a journey of 1,000 miles starts from the feet. The same goes for martial arts. With a solid foundation, one may not be able to go far, but if the foundation is not solid, one cannot go far. If one blindly pursues speed, the upper limit will not be too high. I don't know how many heavenly conceits and geniuses pursued the speed of cultivation, but in the end, they disappeared from the crowd. Millions of years ago, there was a chaotic ancient emperor who suffered a great defeat all the way. After 100 defeats, he gave birth to a demonic fetus and achieved enlightenment. In the end, he became the emperor. The chaotic emperor is a different kind among his peers. His peers Jianjiao made rapid progress, but his cultivation speed was very slow. When his peers Jianjiao dominated the world, he looked very mediocre. Throughout his life, he had a bumpy journey and suffered a great defeat, but he never died and eventually became the emperor. Because he takes every step exceptionally steadily, his foundation far surpasses his peers' arrogance, defeating all his former opponents and reaching the pinnacle alone. Muxingzhi's words were originally intended to comfort him. It doesn't matter if Muxingzhi's cultivation speed is slow, just lay a solid foundation. There is no need to pursue speed, laying a solid foundation is more important than anything else. However, it was understood by Xiao Yi as motivating words. Yes, Master is saying that although my cultivation speed is not as fast as Master, there is no need to lose heart. Even the chaotic ancient emperor can become emperor. It can be seen that cultivation speed cannot determine everything, and a solid foundation surpasses everything. Master hopes I have the posture of a great emperor. I must not disappoint him. I must establish a solid foundation and become the emperor. Thinking of this, Xiao Yi respectfully said, Master, I will follow your teachings and lay a solid foundation. Alright, keep talking about forging bones. Muxingzhi decided to increase the difficulty of bone forging. Xiao Yi's psychological effect is that he perceives qi and blood, so I don't believe he can still achieve success in bone forging through his psychological effect. Anyway, his accumulated energy cannot be achieved, and bone forging cannot be reached, no matter how high the standards are set. After 3 months, he will be unable to successfully forge his bones. With this foolish brain, he will feel ashamed to think that his talent is not good and his cultivation is not successful. Instead, he will feel ashamed of his master's cultivation. At that time, we need to draw a pie for him, saying that he is not suitable for martial arts. We need to change the cultivation system, such as cultivation, Taoism, Duqi, and casually fabricate a martial arts method. Let him go back and slowly cultivate, and then we can stabilize him for a few more years, reducing the possibility of being exposed. Maybe when he gets excited, he'll give me another apprenticeship gift, and when he receives the second one, he'll run away immediately. With his pea-like nature, the second apprenticeship gift won't be missing, and together it's enough to make me live a lifetime. Muxingzhi felt slightly ashamed in his heart. His bottom line was getting lower and lower, and he even thought of deceiving Xiao Yi for the second apprenticeship gift. However, if there is one thing, there will be two. When something happens, you will immediately run away. In this era without cameras, looking for someone is like finding a needle in a haystack. For ordinary people, entering the realm of forging bones, the muscles and bones are as tough as iron, with strong piercing power and 1,000 pounds of force between every move. It is easy to tear tigers and leopards, and to open tombstones and stones. However, this is only the standard for ordinary people. True Tianjiao can wield a force of 10,000 pounds in the realm of forging bones, which is pure physical strength. Ah! Xiao Yi exclaimed, this is too shocking to speak for a moment. The power of 10,000 pounds, possessing such a powerful force, when facing those so called martial arts masters, one is afraid of being knocked to death and injured when touched. Most people only forge bones, but if they want to achieve a force of 10,000 pounds, they need to condense all the bones in their body, from limbs to torso, from the 5 organs and 6 organs to the spinal dragon, into one piece. In addition, their entire body must also be coiled like a dragon. This is the twisted ribs and tendons. They are all pure physical strength that can reach 10,000 pounds. Muxingzhi solemnly cautioned, so if you enter the bone forging realm and strive to train into a muscular state, allowing your pure physical strength to break through the 10,000 pound level, it will be of great benefit to you. Master, I will work hard. Xiao Yi clenched his fists heavily. Master, is the trunk, limbs, and spine of the dragon progressive layer by layer? Muxingzhi shook his head and said, there is no distinction between high and low in the trunk, limbs, and spine of a dragon. Ordinary people, after refining their muscles and bones with qi and blood, are satisfied with completing bone forging. At this point, their bones are as tough as iron, but still independent. Those who pursue it will cause their limbs, torso, or spine to condense into a whole. After completing this stage, a certain part of their body's bones will become a whole, and their strength will greatly increase, reaching thousands of pounds. Xiao Yi was puzzled and said, Master, I have a question. Since these people have already thought that completing the rib and sinew can reach the limit of bone forging, why only condense one of the limbs, trunk, and spine of the dragon into a whole? Muxingzhi smiled and pointed to the distant mountain peak. Can you fly up to that mountain now? The disciple is dull. Xiao Yi realized that he had asked a very foolish question. Is it that they don't want to? No, they can't do it. Muxingzhi continued, the trunk, limbs, and spine of the dragon are 3 parts. Being able to complete 2 parts is considered a mid to high position. If you can complete 3 parts, you are already in an upward position. Being able to complete 3 parts and then condense them into one whole, transforming it into a ribbed and twisted structure, is what true Tianjiao can achieve. Tianjiao, everyone is capable of completing the ribbed and twisted muscles. Xiao Yi's eyebrows lit up as he listened, and his eyes lit up as he said, Master, please teach my disciples how to train them to become stiff and twisted tendons. Muxingzhi suddenly became speechless. What are you so excited about? It's hard not to think that you can train yourself to have the power of a ribbed and twisted muscle with a weight of 10,000 pounds. If you can lift the water tank that is filled with water, which is almost 1,000 pounds, I will kneel down and call you master. Look, you're in a hurry. The disciple is wrong. Xiao Yi's face darkened and he restrained his excited expression. Those who can complete the first step of martial arts by twisting their ribs and tendons, and have a pure physical strength of 10,000 pounds, belong to Tianjiao. However, this is just Tianjiao. Muxingzhi said in a deep voice, the Tianjiao among Tianjiao is a presence with the posture of a great emperor and almost invincible peers. Originally, Tianjiao also has a distinction between upper and lower levels, and Tianjiao in Tianjiao is a presence with the posture of a great emperor. Xiao Yi suddenly realized. Just like my 8 close maids are all beauties, but there is also a gap between them. My favorite one, even the one with the largest name in Dongyang County, the 100 Flowers Tower, is no worse than the Flower Queen. Upon hearing this, Muxingzhi almost gritted his steel teeth. Undoubtedly, I am the son of a wealthy family. Even a close maid can be compared to a flower queen. Damn it, I have traveled through a year without even holding a woman's hand. I envy you so much. I'm too jealous. I also want red sleeves to add fragrance. Humph. Muxingzhi snorted coldly, since you have entered the path of martial arts, how can you indulge in drinking and indulging yourself? Before becoming a martial saint, you cannot have sex with a woman again. Chapter 9. As a teacher, I have given you a world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Yi's expression was casual, and then he solemnly promised, I must stay away from women. He couldn't help but wonder in his heart, why did Master react so strongly this time? Is it because my master is too worried that my addiction to women is not conducive to martial arts? Master, if you train your muscles to be stiff and twisted, you are already Tianjiao. What about Tianjiao among Tianjiao? Muxingzhi said indifferently, those who have been trained to become the backbone of the martial arts world must have the necessary understanding, perseverance, and techniques. If they can become the backbone of the martial arts world, it is equivalent to forging the path of heavenly pride. As long as there are no accidents on the road ahead, it will definitely be a smooth journey. However, this is just the extreme realm. There is still a type of person in the world who can break through the limits. Those who can break through the extreme realm have the posture of a great emperor. Xiao Yi's heart raced with excitement and he said, Master, I will definitely train into a stiff and twisted muscle, and pursue breaking through the realm. Having a goal is good, but it must be done within one's capacity to avoid getting obsessed. Muxingzhi nodded in appreciation. Plate ribs and twisted tendons. Breaking through the extreme realm. Is there a ghost in achieving success through practice? It's all his mother up. However, at this moment, Xiao Yi felt as if he had been beaten with chicken blood, his blood boiling with excitement. He wished he could train himself into a muscular physique now, and then break through his limits to become a great emperor. Master, what is breaking through the extreme realm? With blood boiling, Xiao Yi didn't forget to ask what breaking the extreme realm was. Breaking through the extreme realm. Muxing pondered slightly. Oh no, I made it up too quickly. I didn't think of anything that symbolizes breaking through the extreme realm. His mind is running at lightning speed. Got it. Supreme Bone. I was originally afraid that you would set your sights too high and I didn't want to tell you. Since you have a thirst for knowledge, I will reluctantly tell you. Muxingzhi recalled the supreme bone of the wild emperor and slowly said. The symbol of those who break the extreme realm is the supreme bone. The supreme bone. Muxingzhi slowly stood up, his eyes full of vicissitudes, as if he had crossed millions of years and was reminiscing about something. After breaking the limit, a supreme bone will condense in the chest, which will ultimately give the owner a divine power. Each supreme bone's divine power is unique, and it can stand tall in the world and stand alone in the world. 2. Those who break through the extreme realm not only need intelligence, root bones, perseverance, and martial arts skills, but also need chi luck. Those who can condense the supreme bone are not only those with atmospheric luck, but also the children of chi luck. Supreme, do everything in the way. Xiao Yi's scalp was tingling with shock. Supreme. Qi Yun. It sounds so tall and mysterious. Upon hearing this, it is clear that if the supreme bone were to be condensed, it would surely be incredibly powerful. Master, what does it mean to be able to condense the supreme bone? Muxingzhi gave him a deep glance and said, someone once said, it has condensed the supreme bone, which is equivalent to saying that they have seen the gate of the great emperor. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are the young emperor. The true supreme bone, even if its owner dies, can still endure eternal calamity. After experiencing the baptism of time, its divine power will become even stronger. If time is enough, it can even transform into an extremely powerful imperial weapon. What is the extreme Tao Emperor's soldier? Only the great emperor can refine it. Muxingzhi blew the conch with great fanfare, making the supreme bone more mysterious and powerful. However, he fooled Xiao Yi enough, his eyes widened, his fists clenched, and his teeth clenched with a clattering sound. He wished his chest could immediately generate the supreme bone. Muxingzhi turned his head and whispered, my disciple, you can make breaking through the extreme realm your goal, but remember to do it according to your abilities. Well, I understand. Since we have already talked about bone forging, let me also tell you about practicing dirt. Master, please teach me. Xiao Yi respectfully said. When reaching the realm of cultivating internal organs, the internal and external muscles, bones, skin, and flesh, as well as the 5 and 6 internal organs, are all condensed into one piece. The copper skin, steel bones, and iron internal organs make the entire human and blood body incredibly powerful, with immense vitality. Drinking poison is no different from drinking water, and even if the heart is pierced, it cannot be killed. It can be repaired on its own, unless the heart is crushed. People who practice internal organs, after their strength penetrates into the 5 and 6 organs, concentrate their minds with every breath. After eliminating distractions, they are very sensitive to their internal organs. Over time, they will inevitably have a good understanding of their own internal organs, and finally understand more accurate and real steps than just seeing with the naked eye. Anyone who has internal vision can accurately see any pain in their organs and come up with strategies to solve the problem. People are like drinking water, knowing their own temperature. When they reach this level, their lifespan greatly increases, and living for 200 years is not a problem. Holy crap, is this still human? Is the heart pierced and not dead, drinking poison like water? Can live for 200 years. You should know that being able to live up to 80 or 90 years old is already a birthday star. If I could live 100 years, it would be auspicious. Xiao Yi was shocked. Martial arts has only entered the realm of cultivating dirt, yet it is so extraordinary. Watching Xiao Yi's face full of excitement, already full of energy, Muxingzhi couldn't help but admire his ability to deceive. He waved his hand and said, "All right, the methods of forging bones and practicing organs are all in the current Tathagata Sutra that I have passed down to you. It is up to you to comprehend them yourself." Muxingzhi is an ordinary person, who knows nothing about bone forging and dirty cultivation methods. It's already exhausting to come up with a rough framework. After speaking, he added, "My disciple, remember that as a teacher and believer, you will never be rigid and rigid. If every step is planned clearly for you, then you will never surpass being a teacher. As a teacher, you can explain the current Tathagata Sutra to you word for word, so what is the difference between you and the teacher's puppet? Only by understanding it yourself can you walk out of your own martial arts path and create a world of your own. Once you realize it, you have practiced it. If you don't realize it, it means you don't have enough qualifications. I have done my best as a teacher." Muxingzhi said leisurely, "My opponent back then was the son of the emperor. His emperor's father gave him the best physique in the world, and he has been practicing the best immortal scripture since birth. His father also taught him, but he lost to me. Do you know what my master gave me? I am willing to hear its details." Muxingzhi smiled and said, "Master, he gave me the whole world. He didn't give me the best physique in the world, he didn't give me the best immortal scripture, he just led me into the door. He just gave me a free world, allowing me to hit the 9 heavens and the 9 U's up and down, and fly freely without being bound or shackled. I am now imitating my master and giving you a free world, free from constraints and shackles, to open up my own world." Xiao Yi was extremely excited and shouted, "I understand. I will not disappoint my master's high expectations. I will open up a world of my own." "Haha, go ahead." Muxingzhi waved his hand gracefully. "Lying trough. This forced outfit is really enjoyable. Enjoy yourself. The most wonderful thing is that there is someone who carefully looks at themselves and pretends to be coerced." Chapter 10. Young Master, I understand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After skillfully washing the dishes, Xiao Yi continued to practice and entered a state of meditation. With his thoughts and movements, he mobilized qi and blood to circulate throughout his body, bones, skin, and membranes. Within his 5 organs and 6 viscera, the content of the Tathagata Sutra flowed through his mind one by one. Recalling his master's words. Master said that the methods of forging bones and practicing organs are all in the Tathagata Sutra of the present world, and the mysteries need to be comprehended by myself. As the night grew deeper, he gradually understood the method of forging bones and determined the direction. The jade pond is filled with clear water to nourish the spiritual roots, and the ability to review and cultivate it can last for a long time. On the clear water of the jade pond, there grows fertilizer, and the spiritual roots are strong and will not age. Xiao Yi became excited and said, "Sure enough, Master has passed on all the teachings to me, but I have never understood them before and have no way." "Ha, I see. I understand. Young Master, I understand." Excited, he couldn't help but shout out. Muxingzhi, who was taking a shower, heard Xiao Yi's shout and looked bewildered. "Rebellious disciple. What exactly did you realize?" After taking a shower, Xiao Yi was still practicing. Muxingzhi instructed him to balance work and rest and go to bed early. The next day, a kite flipped over and jumped up, standing on the bed punching and kicking for a while. It felt like its mind was clear, its whole body was strong, and its punches and kicks were full of energy. If I had ginseng for 100 years every day, would I be able to become a martial arts master without practicing martial arts? After eating ginseng for 5 days, he could feel his body becoming stronger every day. Previously, when he woke up in the morning for a short period of time, his mind felt a bit confused and his hands and feet felt a bit weak. But now, all these feelings have disappeared. Yesterday, he quietly tested his strength and at least gained tens or even hundreds of pounds. The century-old ginseng in this world actually has such an effect. Yes, it's not surprising that it's a world with martial arts experts. In the world of Jin Yong's martial arts, there are various divine medicines, such as snow ginseng, which can cure terminal illnesses, detoxify hundreds of toxins, and has the ability to revive life. The immortal spring water in the Valley of Eternal Spring, where everyone can live for over 100 years. The peach with magical effects in Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. The Bodhisattva snake gall, which can greatly enhance one's martial arts skills. Muxingzhi opened the brocade box and looked at only a little over half of the century-old ginseng left. His expression was sad, and the two of them ate it. According to this situation, they could only eat it for more than 10 days at most. No way. I have to hint to Xiao Yi that there's not enough to eat. Upon reaching this point, Muxingzhi immediately found Xiao Yi, who had been practicing until midnight. The sun had just risen early in the morning, and he began to practice diligently, practicing the summer 3 Fu and winter 3 Jiu. If he had worked so hard back then, not to mention being admitted to Tsinghua University in Peking University, it would have been really easy for him to do so. Master. Seeing his master approaching, Xiao Yi stopped practicing and bowed respectfully. Muxingzhi said slowly, "My disciple, the journey of martial arts consumes a lot of resources. When you take ginseng soup every day, there is already very little ginseng left. If the resource supply is not timely, it may slow down your cultivation progress." Upon hearing this, Xiao Yi was deeply moved and his eyes were moist. "Indeed, Master used my apprenticeship ceremony to help me cultivate. I must not disappoint Master," he said after being moved. He immediately replied, "Master, in a few days, I will go back and bring some medicinal herbs that are beneficial to qi and blood to practice." He thought to himself, "This time I must choose something better to show my respect to my master." One of the Mu Xing's faces was pleased, and the disciple was indeed very virtuous. He hinted, "Actually, the medicinal herbs brought here don't need to be flashy, just like 100-year-old ginseng." "I understand." Muxingzhi was secretly happy. It seemed that there was no need to worry about eating ginseng in the short term. Feeling in a good mood, he waved his hand and instructed Xiao Yi to continue practicing. He personally cooked 2 bowls of beef noodles, and after making the noodles, he couldn't help but sigh. "After only a few days without cooking, I feel a bit unfamiliar." Alas, it is indeed easy for people to transition from frugality to luxury, but it is difficult to transition from luxury to frugality. Xiao Yi, who was working hard to cultivate, felt that after a night of cultivation, his qi and blood became stronger and his foundation became much stronger. He quickly refined the medicinal power of ginseng and pondered in his heart. "At the latest, the day after tomorrow, my foundation will be consolidated to the limit, and then I can start forging bones." 2 more days have passed. The sun shone brightly on the earth, and before Muxingzhi woke up, Xiao Yi had been practicing for a long time. Ha, ha, ha! At the edge of the cliff, Xiao Yi's fists changed and flickered, moving and moving. The qi and blood in his body were like cooking oil in a blazing fire, running through his limbs, bones, and internal organs like a raging fire. The raging qi and blood were wild but not chaotic, as if suppressed by a strong and powerful hand. Following Xiao Yi's thoughts, they wandered through the muscles, bones, and membranes, gradually refining and strengthening their bodies. If someone is next to Xiao Yi, they can hear sounds like rivers rushing out of him, and his whole body is like a furnace, emitting a fiery atmosphere. For a long time, Xiao Yi withdrew his fist and stood up, taking a long breath. A breath of white air shot out from his mouth like a sword, several meters away, and only dissipated a few seconds later. His eyes flickered and he said, 8 days. I have pushed the realm of accumulation to a perfect state, and there is no room for consolidation of the foundation. Perhaps it is not as good as Tianjiao in Tianjiao, who has the appearance of a great emperor, but it can also be called Tianjiao. I cannot be complacent. My achievements are far inferior to my master. His opponent, who is the descendant of the great emperor and has the best physique in the world, has the presence of the great emperor when practicing the world's first immortal scripture. Even so, I still lost to my master. But it's okay, as long as I cultivate the supreme bone, I will have the posture of a great emperor. Xiao Yi excitedly looked forward to the future, clenched his fists heavily, making a clicking sound. With one punch, the air exploded. Even though he has no opponents, he can clearly feel his strength. Even top martial arts experts at the level of martial arts alliance leaders may not necessarily be his opponents. At least 100 enemies. And this is just the realm of consolidating the foundation of martial arts. He really wanted to continue practicing and start forging bones, but then he thought to himself, my master said that practicing also requires a balance of work and rest. Walking, sitting, and lying are all martial arts. Today, I will temporarily stop practicing and settle down for a day. I will carefully experience the perfect state of accumulated energy and start forging bones tomorrow. With this in mind, Xiao Yi stopped practicing and went to the pond to pull out the fish cage he had put down yesterday. He poured out the fish, shrimp, and loach inside and could have a big meal. Then I watered the vegetable garden around. Feed chickens and pigs for a long time. The handling is well organized. The once wealthy young master Xiao Yi is now very proficient in farming work trained by Muxingzhi. After Muxingzhi woke up, he habitually glanced at Xiao Yi. He thought he would see him practicing hard, but ended up seeing him pulling weeds in the vegetable field. Sleeping trough. What did I see? He didn't even practice early in the morning. Muxingzhi was surprised. Xiao Yi had been apprenticed for 8 days, and this was the first time he woke up in the morning to see that he had not practiced.